Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1 million by 1 million online rendezvous. I'm coming to you live from Silicon Valley, California. This is Sramana Mitra, founder and CEO of 1 million by 1 million, the first and only global virtual accelerator in the world. Our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue. And in support of that mission, we do a lot of different things online through which we connect with you in different parts of the world. These online rendezvous are part of that programming. We are today live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, and the recording will be available afterwards as well. So you can interact with me on any of those platforms. Just use the public chat, the comments areas to ask your questions. What we're going to do today is basically Q&A. And I've picked a few questions that I've got in other touch points, and I'm going to answer some of them today. And then you're very welcome to ask your questions. I will dialogue with you after the video portion is over. And also, if you have asked questions that warrant a broader, bigger answer, we will incorporate that into our next session. So by all means, ask away. Now, for those of you who are looking for feedback on your particular projects, if you're doing an entrepreneurial project, if you're doing a technology startup, our focus is entirely technology startups. We don't do any other kind of ventures. But within technology, if you are doing a startup and you want feedback from me on your project, we have a separate session for that, which is our 1M by 1M free mentoring roundtables. So you need to go to the 1mby1m.com website, go to free public roundtables and register there. All the instructions are there, the schedules are there. Those are Thursday mornings, 8 a.m. Pacific time. And over 150,000 people have attended those. So you're very welcome to come and work with me on one of those sessions. So with that, let's go to our first question today. The question actually is a very interesting one. What are some startup ideas that frequently fail? So I'm sure there are many, many, many startup ideas that frequently fail. One that I see all the time, and I think one has consistently failed, is the idea of mentoring networks. And especially in the domain of startups, all the ventures that have tried to build mentoring networks have failed. In 1 million by 1 million, we don't do a mentoring network. We have a network of investors, and we have a network of entrepreneurs whose case studies we teach you. So you learn, you get to learn from people who have done it before, but you learn through their case studies, not through their direct mentoring of your projects. The direct mentoring of your projects, I do myself personally. So I'm going to point you to something which is a video that I recorded a long time ago. It's on our YouTube channel, and it addresses the question, why do mentoring networks fail? So I'll answer the question, what are some startup ideas that frequently fail, by telling you that mentoring networks almost always and inevitably fail. Now, the full explanation of that is a longer answer, and I would suggest that you go ahead and look that up on our YouTube channel. By the way, the YouTube channel is full of stuff that you can learn from, and it has recordings of all our mentoring sessions, every single one of them, and we have done over 485. So all these are on our YouTube channel. You can listen to them at your convenience, and that's another way that you can learn. We really believe in this case study based learnings. We believe that you learn a lot by listening to people who have done before, as well as to these discussions on people's pitches and how I give them feedback, or other guests on our 1M by 1M free roundtables, how they process the business ideas. You learn a lot from that. So if you have time and you're looking for learning material, those are good ones. By the way, how do you access our case studies for free is a question we get a lot. I'm going to point you again to the 1M by 1M website. Go under blog, go to the left navigation column and go to entrepreneur journeys. Every single case study from 1M by 1M is available for free on that section. And I suggest that you start reading those case studies. Maybe every day you read 5 or 6 of them. Put aside a little bit of time on your schedule every day if you're trying to learn technology entrepreneurship to read those case studies. And if you do this for 30 days, and let's say you spend an hour, 5, 6 case studies a day, and you spend, let's say, 30 hours in a month just studying case studies, you would have probably read 150 to 180 case studies by the end of the month. I promise you, you're going to come out of that process feeling really empowered, feeling really inspired. So go try it. All right. The next question is, are VC-funded startups usually more or less successful than bootstrapped ones? Well, I think there is no thumb rule as such. You can be successful as a VC-funded startup. You can be successful as a bootstrap startup. Either way is fine. The one thing I will say at a philosophical level is define success. What is success? If you are a VC-funded startup, then the definition of success is that you have to make money for your investors and you have to make money for yourself. That is what is considered a successful venture in the venture world, venture capital world. In the bootstrap world, there's one entity in this equation that's missing, which is the investor. So you don't have to make money for investors. But you have to, one, survive, and you have to make profits so that you can, make money for yourself. In a bootstrapped company, the way you make money is through profits. And the way you survive is also through profits. So you can call yourself a success if you're, even if you have a $5 million bootstrap company or even a $1 million bootstrap company that is sustainable and profitable so that you're making your, desired amount of money. You don't have the obligation to make investors money in that scenario. So that's, I would say, definition of success is something that you need to decide on upfront before you can answer this question, which one is more or less successful. And I think that definition is very personal. Some people feel like they have to build a unicorn company and a $1 billion valuation, and that is the only way they can feel successful. That's their prerogative. And some people feel that they have to have the validation of venture capitalists, and that's how they feel successful. All of those are fine. There's one point I will make, which is there are a lot fewer venture-funded or venture-style startups, venture-fundable startups. Venture fundable startups need to go from 0 to $100 million in 5 to 7 years. Very few companies meet that kind of a velocity and that kind of a scale in their structure. So most companies, 99%, over 99% of the companies can be successful as bootstrap companies, but not as venture-funded companies. There's less than 1% of the startups out there that can actually be successful as venture-funded companies. So that's another way to look at it as you define success and you set your own personal goals is, do you want to play this low probability game of raising venture capital and becoming successful and building a very large company? Or Are you satisfied with building a smaller company, slower, more organic growth, and in our world, that is also success. Our definition of entrepreneurship is entrepreneurship equals customers, revenues, and profits. Financing is optional, exit is optional. So you define what is comfortable for you and then accordingly become successful based on what your goals are, what your agenda is. And I'll share something personal with you. I have chosen not to take venture capital for 1 million by 1 million, which is my 4th company. I have done venture funded companies before. So in that context, I will tell you that my definition of success is, of course, I have to make this company sustainable. I have now run it for 10 years. And one of my criteria for success has been impact. So we've made a big impact on our space, our industry, and that was one of my success criteria. And that continues to be one of my success criteria. So that's a longer answer to your question, to the question, are VC-funded startups usually more or less successful than bootstrapped ones? And one last point. VC-funded startups often get into a debt by overfunding situation. They get flushed with capital and end up going out of business because the business doesn't ramp up adequately to justify that level of investment and that level of burn rate. And if you want to study this phenomenon, this debt by overfunding phenomenon more carefully, you can go to our website again, to the blog, and look for debt by overfunding in the search bar, and you'll find tons of case studies of that. So that's my answer to this question. Let me get some water. Okay, question number 3 is, are VC funded? Sorry, no, I've already done that. The next question is, what are virtual companies that don't have brick and mortar offices? And Maureen, sorry, I missed this one and went to the 3rd question first. So if you could just swap us back to question number 2, that would be great. So virtual companies that don't have brick and mortar offices. Number 1 is us. 1 million by 1 million operates as a virtual company without brick and mortar offices. We all work from home, except we have a technical team in Jaipur, India, where there's a group of people that works from a small office because they're a partner of ours. They're not part of our company, but it doesn't matter. But we do operate with them as a virtual company as well. All our communication is through virtual mechanisms. I'm going to point you to a bunch of case studies of virtual companies. Please make a note, and you can go to the, again, 1 million by 1 million blog, go to the Entrepreneur Journey section and look for these companies. One of them is Percona. Percona has bootstrapped to $25 million, and they are a virtual company. There's another company called Form S Assembly. They have bootstrapped to $20 million. This is a virtual company that was bootstrapped with a paycheck. The 3rd company, the 3rd case study that I will give you is PC Pitstop. They bootstrapped to $20 million. It's also a virtual company. So that's, those are 3 examples, 3 good, solid case studies that you can study if you're considering doing a virtual company. Okay, question number 4. What would be your advice for a software engineer who wants to start his own business on the side while still being employed full-time? This is a question from Cora that I answered very elaborately recently. So let me go over the principles of what I would point you to. My first piece of advice is, don't quit your job. This may sound contrarian to you, but we've had significant success with the bootstrapping with a paycheck strategy in these scenarios. If you have a job, hold on to the job and consider using the bootstrapping with a paycheck strategy. And I'm going to again point you to some case studies from 1 million by 1 million. Now you know how to find the case studies on our blog. Look for a case study that is titled, please make a note, Bootstrapping with a Paycheck to Y Combinator and 10 Million Series A. Ryan Chan is the CEO of Upkeep. It is his case study. It explains the nuance of bootstrapping with a paycheck where the entrepreneur validated while keeping his job and then applied to Y Combinator and got in because he had a validated business. And he did that validation phase while keeping his job. So this is one of the primary guidance we always give is keep your job, get your business idea validated, then quit your job. The next case study that I'm going to point you to is called Solo Entrepreneur Bootstrapping with a Paycheck and a Virtual Company. Cedric Savarese, CEO of Form Assembly. I just referred to this Form Assembly case study also earlier in the virtual company context, but this is a good one also. Solo entrepreneurs often bootstrap with paychecks. This is something we've seen over and over again. And I'll give you 4 more case studies to look at. Please make a note, bootstrapping with a paycheck to $15 million from Tennessee, Gene Caballero, CEO of GreenPal is one. Bootstrapping with a paycheck to Techstars, Naveen Shetty, CEO of Blueprint Registry is number 2. Number 3 is bootstrapping with a paycheck from Indiana, One Click Ventures co-founder Angie Stocklin. And then bootstrapping with a paycheck, Katie Echeverry, CEO of Unique Vintage. By the way, there's a commonly believed myth that you can't start a company while holding on to a job. This is a myth. It's false. And finally, the biggest case study we have on this topic, bootstrapping with a paycheck, is that of Girish Navani of eClinicalWorks, a company that is doing close to $1 billion in revenue and chooses to remain private, was bootstrapped with a paycheck, and if it were to go public today, it would be valued at a multi-billion-dollar market cap. The case study is titled Built to Enjoy, eClinicalWorks CEO Girish Navani. We also have a video interview with Girish on our YouTube channel. You can look it up. Look for Girish Navani, eClinicalWorks in the YouTube channel, and you'll find there the interview. So all this I've given you pointers to, so that you can convince yourself by studying all these that you can bootstrap with a paycheck if you want to. And once you've convinced yourself that you want to go this route, you need to create a plan on how to learn what you need to learn to put one foot before the other. Apply the same rigor that you have applied to become a great engineer and learn the business aspects now. Because the early stage of a software company or software startup is actually business case validation. You shouldn't start writing code. Do not start writing code without validating your business case first. So this is very, very important. Do not start writing code just because that's your comfort zone. So here's a 1-year plan to get you prepared to go full-time with your startup. I love this question, by the way, because I actually think that the blueprint that I'm providing you can teach hundreds of thousands, if not millions of software engineers out there who already have jobs and are gathering good experience in their day jobs, can all learn to become entrepreneurs. And I think it's a very repeatable, very scalable, very predictable path of learning how to become an entrepreneur. So here we go. Below is coming up is a 1-year plan to get you prepared to go full-time with your startup. First, go through my LinkedIn Learning bootstrapping course. It is available on LinkedIn Learning. It is also available on our blog. It will take you 1 hour to complete. It's a 1 hour course, but it will give you a very solid overview of what bootstrapping is, and it's something that you need to learn. Once you get through that, you can start with the 1M by 1M basic program. It's a very, very affordably priced program. It's only $99 a month and is entirely case study and video lectures based. We have in that curriculum case studies of 100 plus unicorn companies, 400 plus bootstrap companies, and 400 plus VC funded companies. So you will get a very comprehensive overview of how these entrepreneurs have done it. Block out a couple of hours on your calendar every day when you just focus on studying the core curriculum, including relevant case studies. The core curriculum is divided into 7 parts. You learn bootstrapping, positioning, market sizing, customer validation, financing, customer acquisition, and team building. Depending on how much intensity you can commit to this exercise, let us say in 6 months, you have mastered the basic methodology, the core methodology. Now you need an idea to focus on. One way to look for ideas, unless you have one already, is to do the electives within your domain of interest and expertise. So the electives include Web 3.0 and e-commerce, cloud computing and business solutions, outsourcing and consulting, mobile and social apps, healthcare IT, online education, gaming, building unicorn companies. There's a whole module on women and entrepreneurship. If you're a female entrepreneur looking for specific guidance, there we have a module on that. We have, a whole bunch of modules that are sector-specific modules where you can look for ideas. If you have a particular sector where you're looking for ideas, studying that particular elective will help you. Well, a very good example actually is online education. Right now, distance learning and online education has got a massive boost from COVID-19. So it's a really, really reasonable place for you to look for ideas and potentially quite a, prolific, fertile ground where ideas are sprouting nicely right now. Another great way to dig for ideas is the Thought Leadership interview series on the 1M by 1M blog. This is also available in these elective modules, by the way. At the end of every single interview, I ask the interviewees to point to open problems. And if you go through the artificial intelligence thought leaders interviews or big data thought leaders, cloud computing thought leaders, cybersecurity thought leaders, healthcare IT thought leaders, online education thought leaders, fintech thought leaders, you will find in each case good examples of open problems in there. Now, let's say through all this process, you have now come up with an idea that interests you, or maybe more than one ideas. Put these ideas through the 1M by 1M self-assessment. If you go to the website, there is the 1M by 1M self-assessment. You should try to answer these questions, a set of questions that investors would ask you. You should try to answer these questions. And given the fact that you have now done the curriculum, you have methodology under your belt, you should be able to answer these questions and put your ideas through the methodology that you just learned and see which ideas have legs and see which one is your strongest idea by putting the ideas through the self-assessment. Now, the next option you have is 1M by 1M Premium. You can join 1M by 1M Premium right at the beginning, and that gives you access not only to the curriculum, but you also get online mentoring from me. So we have private roundtables where we do the online mentoring. So there is nothing preventing you from directly going to that and Make that online mentoring part of your process while you're bootstrapping with a paycheck and holding on to your software engineering job. 1M by 1M Premium, by the way, also gives you access to introductions to investors, potential customers, channel partners, PR, etc. So go dig around on the website 1mby1m.com and you will find more information on this. I do have some concluding thoughts on this subject. I feel very strongly that in the post-COVID era, we would need many more strong entrepreneurs to deliver the world economy with strong leadership. The advantage engineers have is that they can write code themselves and bootstrap a startup more effectively than non-technical founders. Thus, if millions of engineers around the world get trained in bootstrapped entrepreneurship effectively, efficiently, affordably, while holding on to their jobs, in the post-COVID era, we would emerge with wonderful entrepreneurial ventures sprouting everywhere in the world, creating jobs, GDP, and growth. There is no shortage of capital, but capital flows to validated businesses, not concepts. If you look again on our blog, there's a seed capital series, which is interviews with investors. You can go check that out. It is a very, very good place where you can familiarize yourselves to the thinking, the thought process of entrepreneurs, and that will also help you, and it should be part of your process of learning how to be an entrepreneur while holding on to your job. Now, I asked you to go through case studies, the Entrepreneur Journey series of case studies. What I tried to do in the Entrepreneur Journey series is best explained by the introduction to the first book that I published on the Entrepreneur Journey series. There are 12 books, by the way. The first book has the following introduction. Entrepreneurship is not a career. It is a way of life. For me, this journey began as a graduate student at MIT in 1994. The world watched Netscape go public that year, and the internet swept over us like a virus. That's a very ironic usage of word. As I wrote my master's thesis, I also wrote my first business plan. We were, as a generation, shaping the internet during those early years, and my degree in hand, I was ready to jump into the unknown. From then on, really, I have been jumping into unknowns at every turn. Fortunately, I've had great mentors, people who took an interest in my destiny, stopped along the way, and taught me a thing or two. In turn, I've tried to stop along the way to pass on certain nuggets of my own learning. In the summer of 2006, as the technology industry resurfaced from the nuclear winter that followed the dot-com meltdown, I was invited to speak at a startup workshop. My session was supposed to focus on positioning. At a Silicon Valley law firm, some 60 entrepreneurs packed a conference room to listen to me. I asked each to pitch his business idea in 1 minute, following which I gave feedback for another minute or two. My 90-minute rapid-fire session, alas, was not enough to accommodate all the pitches. In the lobby, even as we spilled into the front steps, I tried to respond to some more, but it was hardly satisfactory. In fact, it has always frustrated me to realize that I did not have enough time in my day to stop for each entrepreneur who asked me for guidance. Friends, seasoned entrepreneurs, have expressed the same frustration. Entrepreneur Journeys is my attempt to capture that tribal knowledge accumulated in the private lives of great entrepreneurs and give it shape, form, color, and a broad reach. Imagine, as you curl up in bed with this book of short stories, you are effectively transported across the table from each of the entrepreneurs, listening to their stories. You will learn, as I have learned from their real-time experiences, all those dinners, lunches, coffees, teas, and glasses of wine from which so many stories have flowed. I invite you to experience them with me. Seated in the living room with Sridhar Vembu, lounging at Coupa Cafe in Palo Alto with Philippe Courteau, on the patio of Woodside Bakery, perhaps your lunch companion is Russ Fradin. Listen to their stories, watch how they formulate ideas, navigate turbulent waters, create strategies, change directions, and make choices. Listen, learn, empathize, agree, disagree, develop your own point of view. Most of all, I hope you find inspiration in these conversations, enough to help you become great entrepreneurs yourselves. For in entrepreneurship, I believe, lie solutions to many of the problems facing our modern world. So, the same thing I talked about in the context of the introduction to the Entrepreneur Journeys Volume 1, the first book, the same applies to all our 1,000 plus entrepreneurship case studies. And you can do this on your iPad, you can do this on your phone. All you need to do is just read these interviews, and you're going to get transported into the minds of these great entrepreneurs. And I promise you, you're going to enjoy the process, and it's going to be an incredible learning experience. So I think I'm going to stop there, and I have another chunk of questions, which we will move to the next session. The last thing that I will point you to is, if you want feedback on your particular venture and you're not a member of the program, you can still come to our free public roundtables. And those are held on Thursday mornings, Pacific time, 8 a.m. on WebEx. So please go to our website, go to free public roundtables, register to pitch or to attend if you just want to listen for a few sessions. And I look forward to working on your venture. These are safe working sessions, and over 150,000 people have attended. We have done 485 plus sessions. So this year we'll probably cross our 500 session mark. And that's pretty much it. I look forward to seeing you at one of those sessions. I hope you're remaining safe as the world opens up from the COVID-19 lockdowns. Pretty much all over the world, there's various degrees of opening up process going on right now, which is very encouraging. Humanity has successfully crossed 3 months of lockdown and hopefully have managed to curb a lot of deaths, millions of deaths. So we are good. We are, on the path to some sort of recovery, but it is not completely safe out there right now, as hopefully you are all from the science and technology world, and you understand that this is scientifically, the virus is not gone. There's no drug, no vaccine. The virus is out there. So you still need to be very, very safe. So do not gratuitously go out and mingle with people and expose yourself to getting infected. Instead, stay put, stay at home and study the methodology of entrepreneurship, and maybe start getting an idea together on which you can start your entrepreneurial journey. All right, that's it for today. Signing off. This is Sramana Mitra, CEO and founder of 1 Million by 1 Million. I will see you soon at the next session or in one of our free public roundtables. Bye.